Hey, good morning. Let's have our cup of joe. The mandate of our office is to separate sense from nonsense. And sometimes that is very challenging. For example, yesterday I come across this information. Detect COVID-19 in a flash by an app that can be installed on your phone. And there's all kinds of description here about what this is able to do. And here's the claim. The facial scan works by measuring electromagnetic waves which change when the RNA particles of the virus are present in a person's body. Well, I see something like that, I become very, very skeptical. But of course, I start looking into it, and it turns out that they really are using a scanner in Abu Dhabi, where this technology supposedly was developed. And there's all kinds of information about how it can detect RNA particles, etc. That, of course, is total nonsense. You cannot detect RNA particles with an app on your phone. But neither is this whole business total nonsense. I think what it is a temperature scan. And yes, there is an app now that has been developed that can detect changes in temperature. And as we know, COVID-19 is associated with an increase in temperature. So what we have here is possibly an app on a phone that can detect temperature. But this idea that somehow the RNA particles release electromagnetic waves that the scanner can pick up. Well, it depends on how you interpret that, because of course heat, infrared radiation, is a form of electromagnetic radiation. So maybe, yes, you can say that it is picking up electromagnetic radiation. But the implication that I've seen with all of the press releases, etc., is that somehow this can specifically pick up the presence of RNA from a virus, which of course is not the case. There's some other bit of silliness that I want to talk to you about today, and that involves a plastic called polycarbonate, a very hard plastic, and that is what is responsible for the face masks that hockey players use, the helmets that they use, and a lot of the equipment used by other athletes, football players, etc. Polycarbonate is a very useful material, very hard material, but as you know, there are some issues with it because it is formulated with a chemical called bisphenol A, which is used to make a plastic, a polymer. Once the polymer is made, the bisphenol A is no longer there as an entity, it's incorporated into the plastic. There are a lot of scary stories on the internet about bisphenol A. You remember that the story of baby bottles possibly leaching out BPA. But that's not what I want to get into now. I also want to alert you to the fact that there's just a lot of technical misinformation. For example, BPA is often described in the lay press releases and stuff that you see from bloggers on the internet as something that is added to make plastic hard. No, that is not the case. It's not an additive. It is part of the plastic, of the polycarbonate plastic. The other possible misuse of terminology in this case is as a plasticizer. And once again, let me show you that. Here's a perfectly good scientific paper about bisphenol, but it talks about bisphenol A being a plasticizer. That is actually mentioned several times in this article. They describe it as a plasticizer. It is not a plasticizer. It is something that is part of the plastic. So there's a lot of this kind of misinformation that is out there. So what is a plasticizer? Well, a plasticizer is a substance that is put into plastics in order to make them soft and pliable as an additive. But bisphenol A is never used as that. The plasticizers that are commonly used are the phthalates. They are added to polyvinyl chloride plastic to make it soft and pliable. Here we have an example of that. This little ducky is made of polyvinyl chloride, and to make it soft and pliable, plasticizers are added. But it is not bisphenol A. These are phthalates, and that's another story for another time. Let's just hope that tonight the Canadiens are not going to be squeezed by Tampa Bay. See you next time.